Today we have a special guest in the house, Colin Scotland. Colin is an AI wizard for business owners, and he's here to help us unleash the power of AI to ramp up your business. I'm so excited about this. I'm Karen Laws, founder of the Dog Trainer Tribe Academy and host of Paws and Profits podcast, where we help you unleash your inner entrepreneur to fuel your passions. Welcome to our podcast. Let's dive in. Welcome, Colin.
Thank you, Karen. What a delightful introduction. It is lovely to chat with you today.
I'm so excited that you're here. It's great to chat with you and to reconnect. As you know, AI is just exploding all over the place. And, from the last 5 years, haven't they been, the last four anyways, have been jam-packed with change. And AI is
Absolutely.
only one of them. We've transitioned. I know I have, and many of my peers are struggling with this transition from in-person stuff, which we all love, particularly as dog trainers. Small business owners tend to like that one-on-one contact. Now we're struggling with being successful online. And that's what I hope you can help us with. Take it away. What would you like us to know to be just as successful as we can possibly be online without the discomfort? Why is it more uncomfortable to run a business online than it is in person?
Well, you know what? It's like trying anything new. So I'm really rubbish at ice skating, right? And my wife's really good. She can like spin around and do all kinds of cool stuff. And we get on the ice, I put the skates on, and I literally am just clinging on for dear life just to stay upright. If I stay upright, I'm doing well,
Yeah.
And so when we go from the familiar to the unfamiliar, there's often this sense of like me in those ice skates on the ice, just not feeling wobbly, feeling a little bit outside of our comfort. Because if I'm on my 2 feet, I never fall over, or very rarely anyway,
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when I've got the ice skates on, it's a totally different environment for me. And the same is true when we look at transitioning from in-person to online. We may be wizards when it comes to face-to-face, but then you put us in the online world and we've now got ice skates on and we're on an ice rink, so
So true.
it's a matter of two things. There's things to learn. So you have to relearn balance. You have to relearn the skill of standing up and not falling over. And online, there are skills that you need to learn. So we all have to be able to present ourselves on camera. We all have to talk confidently about what it is that we're doing in a way that people can understand. And these are often, even though we do this and we take our skills to do this for granted offline, we have to relearn how that works and translates to online. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where the wobbliness comes in. And I think we have to really go easy on ourselves, Karen. Don't be harsh on yourself, because you are learning a new skill. I could nowhere. I mean, I would never be one of these people who could spin around on the ice, but I could not go onto that ice expecting to do pirouettes and all kinds of fancy things, right, on my first go. And so at the same time, like love, gentle acceptance, knowing that you're learning a skill, you're getting better, and you're going to get better and better the more that you do. Treat it like that. And it becomes, rather than something daunting, like, oh, I've got to do this big online thing, it becomes something that you play at, something that you gently lean into step by step. Does that make sense?
It does. And I noticed in your story, you talked about one of your biggest transitions was mindset, that was the biggest tool or thing that you needed was mindset. And yet, and I teach in my academy about, put yourself in the shoes of a new person. But boy, when you try to put yourself in there, it's challenging. So what's the how do we shift our mindset to do that? Because, I'm going to reveal something myself here. My biggest fear, and I think it's the fear of many, is we're behind a screen, but what are people thinking? We stumble on our words, and media, when you look at how media beats up politicians and celebrities, it's wicked. And social media is even worse, these with keyboard warriors. And so I know that when we want to do a good job, how do we overcome that fear of what other people think? That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I hear you. And
You're saying
the
be patient with the newness, but how do we get our audience to understand that? Is that possible? Or do we have to just overcome that?
I think in reality, you've truly got to embrace what is. And if you are new in the journey and you're finding your feet, so to speak, in the online space, then Marcus Aurelius says that the impediment to action advances action. the obstacle therefore is the way, right? So if we are new in this space, why not make something of that fact, right? So rather than it becoming an obstacle to you, it becomes the advancement of your development and your
Mhm.
growth. So, hey, I am really new in this online world and I'm just finding my feet. I'm finding my voice.
Mhm.
And I want to share what that feels like with you. And I want to share how I'm, sat here like I'm shaking with nerves right now because I've never done this before. And I feel like a bumbling idiot, and just by acknowledging and bringing that stuff to light,
Mhm.
it doesn't, rather than diminish your authority and your trustworthiness, it humanizes you. So it makes you feel and be more accessible and easier to connect with potential clients. So you can really leverage and use the journey that you're on, the journey of learning to skate, right? The journey of learning to skate online.
Mhm.
You can use and leverage that in a way that helps you to make those connections.
Mhm.
And then if you do that, then the second part to this is really about what Viktor Frankl talks about when he says that he who has a why to live can bear almost
Anything.
anyhow, right? This sense of, was it Viktor Frankl or was it Nietzsche? I can't remember who said it, but there's a famous quote that's really ties back to the why that you're doing this. And if you
Mhm.
connect with that thing that lights you up, I know we talk about like dog training, helping people to make the business of this, doing all that stuff that lights you up. Your
Mhm.
eyes change, like you literally like you light up, you have this energy about you that is completely different. So your work in this process is to stay in that energy of why you're doing this in the first place, that
Mhm.
passion, that fire, that burning desire to be in service of other people, however that transpires and however that looks for you. Because when you are in that place of service, wow, your energy is different. Wow, you show up so much differently. Even if you've never been on camera before, you've never done this stuff before, that energy really comes across. And so
Mhm.
staying connected with that and anchored in that will allow you to keep moving forward, even in the face of, hey, what are people going to think of this? You might get comments about this, you might get haters about that, and all of that inevitable mind chatter that just goes on, Karen.
Mhm. Mhm. We always think our skins are thick enough to absorb the haters, and in the dog training community, there's a lot of them. And so it is, when you think you're chugging along, I think that, using that sort of service mantra, the Rotarian service mantra is service above self. And if you can put service at the forefront, that's the thing to remember. That's a good point. Actually, I like that. That's a good point, because it is. And the other thing, and I know you've talked about this, and I've read. I can't pronounce his name, but the person that wrote Flow, when he talks about being in the zone.
Mm.
So being in the zone is one thing, but being in the zone on camera, or being in the zone in front of a blank piece of paper to write a blog, is quite another. Which takes us to the whole world of AI and help, and what other, it used to be had to go to writing school to learn how to write things, and now we have AI with all its bumps and so on, of recent, is another avenue that trainers or business owners, not just dog trainers, small business owners, can embrace to move forward. And yet it seems, with so much newness of everything out there, AI is just another one of those things. We're trying to leverage our skills and build confidence online, and be confident in front of the camera. And so the first question is, be comfortable in front of the camera. I just got caught on that. How do we even do that? Because I can talk to you, we can sit at a table, we can have a beer or a tea or a coffee and talk all night long, and then say, okay, now let's record this. And you put the camera in front of me, and it's like, oh, deer in the headlights. What are tips that you would have to overcome that it's just freezing or fear? I've been had a camera put in front of me and not even been able to remember my name. I think I'm way better than that now, which helps me to help my students. But what are some of the tips that you would recommend to business owners who really need to be seen and need to be in front of camera, as you say, and even though they're acknowledging their journey of newness and they want to leverage that, they're still going to have that initial fear? Do you have any secrets that would help us unleash that?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Where to start? A really good one that was shared with me was to put a picture in front of the lens. So to hang a picture of a loved one, a really close friend or relative in front of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're starting your presentation, is to really, really visualize the lens as that loved one, that person,
Mm-hmm.
and not this alien thing that is going to suck your life force away, and and you're in that negative place of, oh no, what's going on, but really to treat the lens as though it is that person who you have that close emotional connection with, and then you're so much better poised to be able to share with heart and with feeling those things that are burning inside of you to share.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first one. And then the second one is another little thing that you can do if you're going to record some content. This was taught to me by an ex-TV presenter lady that I knew. And what she says is, so if imagine we're talking now,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm talking, if we talk between 0 and 1, so 0 is a very like this, and 10 is like, we're on fire.
Yeah.
And she says, like, just before you hit record, talk at an 11 or a 12, like go crazy, like move your arms, dance around, like be very physical.
Right.
All right. And put your energy level as high as you possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
And then hit record, because then you'll record where you need to with a higher level of energy. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I actually do that for my lives. When I do Instagram lives, I'll go into the room and I'll just start dancing around and maybe play with the dogs, and I'll go, boom, okay, we're going live now. And then that is true. That's a good tip.
So the interesting thing in all of this, right, is what Maya Angelou said. She says that people will forget what you do, they forget what you say, but they'll never forget how you make them feel.
That's
and
right.
So the most important thing aren't the words that you use, it's the energy with which you say those words.
Mm-hmm.
And if you focus on that energy, the why, and the gentle acceptance of you being on this journey, then people will love and accept you for who and where you are.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully that's the right person.
And if it's not the right person, it's not your person, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's okay. That's another part of our journey, isn't it? Because we have to come to terms with the fact that my thoughts and feelings and emotions and my ability to serve others in this life are not reflected in other people's opinions or other people's thoughts,
That's so powerful. Oh yeah, that's so powerful. We talk about imposter syndrome and trying to be like somebody else, but that's even more powerful.
Yeah, because you're trying to be like you. So what does the unique version of Karen look like? How does Karen show up in service of others? And then when you can step into that, and that's the work that we talk about with mindset and all of that, is when you can step into that, then wow, you are on fire. Mm-hmm. Everything happens the way that it's meant to happen for you in your life and business. Mm-hmm. And people love and respect you more for it. And yes, some people will hate what you do. Some people will hate every word. Other people will love every word. Mm-hmm. And that both of those things are okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. One of the things I've learned, and I don't know how I did this, I think it's partly because when you put yourself out there, you have to be ready for it. You're absolutely right. And the haters come out. Instead of, I used to block their comments and just block them. And now I don't actually. I read somewhere, and I'm not quite sure where again, but it was, I asked them a question like, oh, thanks for your comment on that. Tell me about such and such. So I take them down their path. And it does two things. It helps to diffuse that tension that I feel when someone throws a negative comment in my thread somewhere, but it also puts the onus back on them. And I tell you, Colin, 99 times out of 100, that I never hear from them. They never come back with, well, I thought this or I thought that. On the rare occasion that they do, we end up having a really productive conversation, because they're waiting for you to get, for me to get defensive, and I'm taking offense to what they've said, when actually in many cases it's about learning about the personalities. just they want more information. They just don't happen to agree with my point of view. Brilliant. What else? Anything else? Now that we've got our mindset in the right place, energy matters. And I, once again, I do aspire, and I teach this. It's not what you say, it's how you say it and how you make them feel. People they don't care what you know until they know that you care.
I like that. That's really nice, Karen. I like that. I like that a lot. And so really, in exercising those muscles of keeping that fear monster in check, of doing the work anyway, and connecting to the why that you're doing the work, because that keeps you anchored when those flaming arrows of doubt and fear and uncertainty and comments from other people come. That keeps you taking one step, putting one step in front of the other to do the work. Because when we come to realize that this thing that we're doing is not necessarily in service of others, it's in service of others, it's to, it's for the betterment of our well-being and the people around us, the people that we serve, so that we can all live better lives, right? It becomes more of a fulfillment of a duty, which has a lot less onus on I.
Yes.
So this sense of this being about me, this isn't about me. That Colin has zero to do with this. This is about a message of hope, a message of opportunity for people who feel that light inside of them, and they want to go and shine it in the world. They want to go and help people to build a business as a dog trainer, or they want to build their own business as a dog trainer and help people train their pets online. Whatever that thing is for you, it's the call to that. And I have zero. I has zero part in that. And when we realize that I has very little to do with the thing that we're actually doing, this is deep now, right? But when we realize it's less about us and more about the people around us that we're helping and serving, that's what makes the difference. Because then, it's like, hey, I'm doing this because I know that person needs my help.
That's it, and in the dog trainer world, especially, and I'm sure many small businesses, particularly in this economy, they want to give it up. And I've been there, I said, I'm just going to pack this in. I'm just going to pack this in, and I'm going to go away now, and I'm going to live my little leisurely life. And then, I've been reminded by mentors and others, and even my customers that say, no, you can't walk away after 40 years working with dogs and take that information with you. You owe it to the dog owning public, or whatever niche you're in. You owe it to them to share what you know. And everyone who you meet as your student is coming to you because they want to know what you know. So that's where I built my sense of obligation, and it's exactly what you're talking about. And it took me many, many years to realize that when you take the I out of it, then you start to think about, well, I have this info to share, but if I share it, then more people win and more people benefit and more lives are saved, or more people are successful, or more dogs live better lives, and it spirals from there.
There it is. It is. And in that energy, who cares if somebody doesn't like what we say? Who cares? That's their business, not ours, It doesn't matter. We're doing this for those reasons.
Yeah.
And for those reasons, we'll continue to do this regardless of all of that other nonsense. Yeah.
Yeah. So now that we've got our heads in the right spaces, and we know we have an obligation to share, we want to start this venture down this journey that's going to fuel our fire, because I always believe that when you do what you love, you never work again, and life's too short to live in a 9-to-5 hellhole that you hate. So take the step and go out. What's the fastest way to get the word? Not the fastest way. Let me rephrase that. In this world of online digital marketing, one-on-one is fine. Face-to-face is a supplement, but now it seems like everything has to have a really strong component of digital presence. And what are your sort of, I guess, again, top 5 tips to have a strong digital presence and be successful in a way that allows, prevents being stuck? I'm thinking of, what blank page in front of me. Oh my God, they tell me I have to do a blog a week, and how the heck do I find the content for that? Or I can talk about how to stop your dog from jumping, and I put a title up there, and then it just sits there as a blank page. And I know there's tools and there's ways to make that move faster, and you've been hugely successful at it. And I know you share a lot about that. Can you tell us more about that? How we can do that?
Of course, yeah. And so are there Are we talking about people who are straddling both areas of in-person and online now?
Yes,
Specifically,
generally, because I find, unless there's some business can go, like retail clothing, for example. I don't think it's been a big maybe I'm wrong. I don't think it's been a big struggle for a person who used to run a brick and mortar business to shut that down now. So you want clothes from me? Here you are. Here's my inventory. Knock yourself out. But the people that own, say, a shoe store, not many people just want to go shoes only online, because that's an important part of your well-being. So they need to try them, touch them, feel them. So what's I think well, you tell me, what is it, more of a blend? And is there a different strategy to go 100% online, or should people actually think about that? And
so
what's the
yeah,
strategy?
great question. If you are local, so if you have a local geographic presence, you're actually in a really strong position, because there are changes coming to Google search, which will add more emphasis to local searches. So if I'm searching dog trainer near me, for example,
Right.
then the most important thing that you can do if you serve a specific geographical region is to have Google My Business listing, so that you appear in the map searches and you appear in local. It's called local search, right? Or local SEO, so that you have a presence locally in that region. That's the first part. Whether you are online and offline, like a combination of both,
Right.
that's really important. That's actually going to become more important as we go into 2024, because of changes that are happening to Google's search. Google's search is changing massively, right? So in the online world, it used to be the case that you would write a blog post. People are searching, how do I stop my dog from peeing on the carpet, right?
Yes.
I'm not a dog trainer. I'm a dog lover, but I'm not a dog trainer, so I wouldn't understand the questions that they ask, right? But so how do I do X? How do I do Y? There's 20,000 searches a month for this. We can write a blog post that speaks to that question and ranks in Google, drives traffic to the website, and then we can convert that traffic into subscribers and to leads and clients, right? That's the old way of doing things.
Yes.
Now with the shift in search, and this is why what we've just been speaking about you becoming the creator, you becoming the beacon of hope, the beacon of what you do and why you do it for other people, is so important. Google has an acronym that they live by, and it's called EEAT. So it's EAT, the Google EAT acronym.
Okay.
And everything that they do in giving you visibility in your business is based on this acronym. And the acronym stands for expertise, experience, authority, and trustworthiness. So that's the EEAT.
Okay.
And so everything that you do to establish, build, grow your online presence should be fueled by the EAT acronym. So rather than let me write a blog post so that I can get clients, right? It's how does this blog post establish my experience, my expertise, my authority, and my trustworthiness in the space? Because those are the markers. It's called an algorithm, what Google uses. Those are the markers that the algorithm is looking for to give you more visibility. The more visibility you've got, the more traffic you've got flowing to your website and your online presence. And
I have to say, I struggled with that. That's so powerful. Holy smokes. I just write blog posts for just like you said, just to write them and get them out there.
So it's much better if you if we just follow that thread for a second, it's much more powerful if, rather than say I need to write a blog post a week, forget that for the time being.
Thank you.
Focus on the people that you serve and help, right? What are the questions that those people ask you the most? What are the things that they're struggling with that you help them with? What are those things? Focus on your service and how you make a difference in people's lives. So I help people struggling with unruly juvenile dogs to have a calm, peaceful household, right? That could be a thing that you do if you're a dog trainer. And so how can we demonstrate that? How can I demonstrate my experience? Because I've trained X number of dogs, and I've done this, and I've got that qualification, and I've done this, and my expertise in that, my experience in that. And how can I share tips and valuable content that's actually going to help people with that juvenile unruly dog? That's the most important thing. That's what Google is trying to really decipher and figure out from your content. Is this content helping that person with their problem? Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. And I'm just thinking
that's the number one important thing, Karen. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's so that cuts across all industries, all niches, like whether it's dog training or training dog trainers, which is where my online presence is more about reaching out to dog trainers with the experience and the expertise and the authority and the trustworthiness that I have built over those 40 years of working with dogs. I do have something to offer, and I've been hitting the wrong audience without even realizing it. So that's very, very helpful. Very helpful. So what are the tools besides that? We're coming to the winding down here. What else do I need to know? I like that. So I don't even know what questions to ask now. I'm flabbergasted.
So the biggest thing is you focus 100% on that person that you serve with whatever it is that you do. If you focus on that person, you can't go wrong, right? The type of content will reveal itself when we know how. So if we want to create content that helps that juvenile dog owner, for example, then okay, we might make a video about that. We might show them the things that they do with their dog. We might have a PDF that shares with them 5 tips to, 5 reminders, or a checklist before you go to bed, or a checklist before you leave the house, or something. When we know what we're trying to help with, the medium will reveal itself, right? So that's why it can sometimes be the wrong way around to focus on, I need to write a blog post. You don't need to write a blog post. You need to solve a problem. So how do we best solve that problem? Just to add to what I said about the big changes coming to Google search, video is becoming increasingly important. So the more you're able to embrace and incorporate video and get yourself out on the ice and start falling over, scrape a few knees, right? Get yourself good on the skates, i.e. on video, exercise that muscle, then that's going to stand you in good stead, because YouTube is the second biggest search engine on the planet after Google. Google own YouTube. So together, I
didn't know that.
Yeah, so they are two massive forces in determining how well you are visible, you get clients, and you attract people into your world. So always be video first, problem and solution, and focusing on how you can demonstrate your EEAT, right? In that content.
For sure.
They're the big things. And then in terms of tools to do all of this faster, of course, that's where AI comes in. That's where AI comes in.
Yeah.
The important thing about that, Karen, is to don't think AI is a replacement for you, because remember, it's you that has the experience, you that has the expertise, and nobody wants to read a blog post that's been written by AI. I want to hear.
I mean, I know how you tell the difference. So how do we make it our voice? And how do we overcome, I'm in Canada, and Canadians are known to be very conservative and very polite. That's shifting a little bit, but when I first started to use AI, I got to tell you, I was afraid to ask more questions. I didn't want to offend them. So how do we get our voice into AI so that we're actually talking to ourselves?
Super simple. So we have to become, just like we have to learn a new skill to go onto camera, we have to learn a new skill called prompt engineering. We need to learn how to prompt. When we put something into ChatGPT, for example, or Claude AI or Bard, one of the big new GPT, like large language model AIs, right, that we're all familiar with now. When we put something into that, when we type text, that's called a prompt. So your ability to instruct the AI dictates what you get out. So good in equals good out, bad in equals bad out, basically.
Just like everything, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like anything.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be able to instruct it well. So if you say, help me to write a blog post that, let's just continue our analogy from before, that helps dog owners with a juvenile unruly dog to overcome, to help to fix the dog, to help the dog be better, then it's just going to give you loads of generic vanilla stuff that it pulls from its knowledge base from around the world, right? From its training. If you, that's not what we want. What we want is for this to sound like Karen.
Yes.
So we need to instruct ChatGPT as to, well, I'll use ChatGPT because that's the main,
main that's
one.
The main one right now.
So right now, So in ChatGPT, there are a couple of things you can do. The first is you can use what's called custom instructions, and you can go into the settings and you can give it all of the instructions about you. Hey, I am Karen. I am a trainer of dog trainers. I've been working on this in this world for 40 years. I love to use, like if I use mine, right? I love to draw on spiritual quotes and philosophical ideas and concepts and really draw parallels with that to the game of business and how we show up in our world today. So this is the stuff that's in my custom instructions in ChatGPT. So I will often use quotes in my language. You see, I've used a few quotes as we've been chatting today. I just naturally do that, right? So I'm telling chat that that's how I talk. I tell chat that I talk in a very casual, very personable, friendly manner that's relatable, that is direct, that uses simple language. I try not to use buzzwords or phrases that people wouldn't understand, jargon type words. So all of this is written in text form in my custom instructions in ChatGPT. So when I give it the instruction, hey, help me write a blog post on X, it knows all of that. So the output.
I've been doing that each time I talk to chat. I didn't know you could go and do that in settings and actually set it up that way.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
I
you can
love
set that in custom instructions. And then the other thing that you can do is you can give it examples of things that you've written previously and say, here's how I write. What I would do is say, hey, construct a brand voice for me. I have a thing called voice, like, so what's the vocabulary that you use? How do I organize my writing? What type of intonation, like the acronym voice. And you go through each of these steps in ChatGPT, and the end of it is you've got a paragraph that you can then either put into your custom instructions, or you can copy and paste into new chats each time and say, this is how I write. Now write me a Facebook post on X.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So there's lots of different ways that you can play with it.
Oh,
I guess the most important thing with this is to not lose sight of the fact that people don't want to hear from AI. People want to hear from Karen. People want to hear from you, right? So your interpretation of these facts, of this knowledge, is what people are most interested in. They're not interested in just the facts. They're interested in your opinion, your interpretation, and how you translate that into what it means for me.
Right.
That's your intellectual property. That's the thing that only you can do, because only you have your unique voice, your unique lens through which you see the world. And so what we've been talking about today, about you stepping into this new world of becoming a creator, of doing things that feel outside of your comfort zone, it's just so that you have the ability to express you in the world. That's it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So the AI doesn't replace you. The AI doesn't replace you. That's important.
Yeah, and there's work to setting it up. I think that I probably know a little bit more than I guess probably a step or two more than my students know, thankfully. But I had never understood or realized how we did that prep work. I thought if we just say it enough times, it'll start picking it up over and over again. So that on its own is really, really powerful. Really powerful to know and to get. I guess it's take the time. In other words, go slow to go fast. Once we take the time to set that initial tone and build ourselves into it, then it becomes easier to get those posts and blogs and articles and so on falling out from that.
Yeah, correct. So little things like who are you speaking to? So who's your target audience for this?
Mm-hmm.
What's the problem that you solve for these people? How do you solve it? I call it a power positioning statement. And one of the prompts that I've got in my ChatGPT Vault thing is that process of who are you, right? And in marketing, we have something called a positioning statement. Okay. And the positioning statement formula goes like this. It's I am A, I help B to overcome C with D, right? So I am Karen, I help aspiring dog trainers to build an online dog training business with my courses, podcast, and coaching, for example, right? So you've got a power, I call it a power positioning statement. So in one breath, you could explain to somebody who doesn't know you, who you are, who you serve, and what you do. You can use that in ChatGPT, give that to ChatGPT, and then ask it to speak in language that will resonate with people looking to build a dog training business.
Right. So it's almost like a sales pitch, but it's not sales. You're resonating. You're building that relationship through AI.
And it doesn't matter what you're creating if you think about it, because if you're creating marketing content, it's especially relevant because you just want that content to resonate with that target audience. So it makes sense then if we don't just say, hey, help me write this marketing content, we tell it who we're aiming at, right? Who the target is. So that it's just a very simple way of doing that. And often those two things, what you mentioned about how do I make it sound like me, and also who are we aiming at? Who is the target audience? And how do we help them? So it can keep it focused on, rather than going off on a tangent into all things that are not relevant, it can keep the content focused on actually how you help these people.
Right.
And it's more useful at guiding people to your solution. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. It makes total sense. And my mental block there of humans being inherently lazy. We just go on and say, can you write this? We hear all the power of AI. So write me a blog about dog training. and all these words come out that I never use in any of my conversations. And so I've been trying to educate it that way, but now I see the strategic approach to, like you say, instruct it well on who I am, who I am, who I serve, and how I serve them on a broad scale. And you can actually get that funnel right down into a small independent or individual case by case.
So now, Karen, we're on the ice. We've got our ice skates on, and we've just strapped rocket ships to our heels, right? Yeah. So the AI is those rocket ships. The AI is the thing that will fire us across that ice like lightning, like Chevy Chase in Christmas Vacation when he goes on the little disc skeeting down the snow, It's like, whoosh. That's what AI is. It's not a replacement for you. It's an accelerant of you.
And so when we get to the bottom of the hill on the disc that he put oil on, we need a forehead bump there. We need a head protector to make sure we don't go over the edge. And so what are the checks and balances to make sure of that, or is it just we just keep educating and instructing and focusing on the power positioning statement? And I think it's as a what we call what's the word here? Technical specialist in dog training, and you're a technical specialist in marketing. Those are two different languages. So I hear the word marketing and I break out in a sweat. But what you're doing here is you're breaking it down, not only with right from the beginning of state of mind and that shakiness on the ice, to then leading us into the right tools to get us to explode into the marketplace in the niche that we want, serving the people that we want to serve and solving the problems that they need solved, just in that nice little roadmap that leads us right on to doing pirouettes on the ice.
Yeah, definitely. Otherwise, you go doing the things that you think you need to do and you get zero results. And then you sat around going, well, this is a failure. Why am I doing this? Right. And you end up. So that doesn't do you any service, and it doesn't do the person that needs your help, that needs to hear your message, any service either. So it's much better to do it the way that we've discussed, because that then will keep you focused on your reason for doing it. And it will infinitely increase your chances of success.
And it'll loop back to feed Google and the algorithm, because in a digital world, our boundaries are limitless. So
Yes.
we can, and that's what I love about it is we have local Google search. And when you build a reputation in your own area, doing much the same thing in a physical presence, then that takes care of that, but that can be limiting. I've always said there can be a dog trainer on every corner, and if they do it right, they'd have every person on their street as their client, which means there can be lots of dog trainers and there'd still be people looking for dog trainers. But in a digital world, it's different, because it's the world, the market is crowded, but the boundaries are endless. So the system to get to that point is really important.
Yes. And
No. Yeah.
sorry,
So I didn't mean to interrupt there. Go ahead. You started to say something.
that's okay. I was just going to yes and what you said. I think this is where your Ep8, remember what we talked about, your expertise, your authority, that's yours, that's nobody else's. So your uniqueness is the key to your success. And when you really embrace that, and that becomes part of your message, like your mess becomes your message. We spoke about being a bit nervous on camera and like making a thing of that and documenting your journey and just being open about all of that stuff, you know. That's where your uniqueness will really shine and help you to stand out.
I like that. My mess becomes my journey. That's true. That's true. Okay, we are closing in on near the end. Is there anything else that I haven't asked? As I said at the beginning, I don't even know which questions to ask. What is there anything else? Any other tips that you would have to a small business owner looking to take that rocket ship journey into the digital world of success? Is there anything we haven't touched on that you could share?
I think from my experience, like hard won through the through the fires, right?
Yeah.
I would say that the biggest thing I would like to share is just your willingness and ability to ask for help, because you don't have to do this alone. There are people that will freely and gladly and willingly help you to fast track your path to success. So don't be afraid or ashamed to look for and ask for help on your journey. Whatever form that takes, there are a multitude of like ways that you can get help, ways that you can have support, accountability, and guidance on the journey. Because, you know, we go to a strange land, there's nothing better than a guide to say, hey, if you go there, you'll get to see 3 more beautiful attractions that you won't see if you go that way, you know, or you can go that way and you'll save 4 hours in your journey up the mountain. And the same is true in the game of business. So the more that we're able to leverage the skills of people around us that have walked the path before, that's one of my regrets, Karen. I realized all too late that I felt like I had to be a superhero and do everything myself. Oh, I can learn that. I can do that. I can do this. I can do that. And I wouldn't ask for help. And that's one of the things that's held me back, like hugely in my earlier years as a business owner, for sure. So that would be something I would want to share with younger Colin. Definitely.
For sure.
Ask for help.
I can so relate to that, because in it's also, once again, often a generational thing where we were, I know I was raised to not ask questions, to get out there and figure it out, you know, solve that problem yourself. Don't be such a nuisance. Don't ask questions. So you come through, and my work environment, when I had a corporate job, I actually had a government job, wasn't much better. For that, you know, there were no mentors there. You had to search hard to find a mentor, and it wasn't until I actually became I trained dogs competitively for over 20 years, and even then it was tough to find a good mentor who was willing to help you without seeing you as a threat to their success in the particular day. But then after I left that in, there was some good ones, don't get me wrong, that were more than willing to help, like you say. But once I got into pet industry, and one individual in particular not only changed my life and encouraged me and brought me into the world of business, but changed how I viewed that particular state of mind, you know, asking questions. And he did say, you need to do this as a business. I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. And he said, no. And then he basically took me by the hand, and away we went. So one of the rationales behind establishing the Dog Trainer Tribe Academy was dog training tends to be you can't call your friend type of a business. And it really is hard. It's often difficult to find someone with enough experience that are worthy, you know, that people can benefit from. And my whole goal was, I want to provide that mentorship so that new startup business owners and or trainers, because there's lots of parallels, they can take a faster road than what I took. Like you say, as a younger Karen just starting business, I could have easily moved a lot quicker and a lot more successfully by reaching out and asking those questions. That's what the whole Dog Trainer Tribe Academy is about, but that's really it. And there's so many resources out there.
Yeah. And can you see how you sharing your passion for those people to have the support that you wished you'd have had, to have more of that, to be able to go further, faster, deeper? That's the thing that makes you a beacon to those people. So to those people, it's a case of finding your tribe. Where are the people who feel and think like you? Go where those people are. You have to be discerning, because there's people out there that just want to take your money and, and then take more of it, right? That's the thing that we have to be mindful of. But find a community, find a home of people who are of like minds as you. That's the key. And I think just you sharing that is a beacon to potential clients, Karen. So you can hopefully see what we've been talking about today, sharing your unique interpretation of that, your journey as well, and how that's shaped why this whole business exists now. That's powerful.
I have that, and I've never really talked about that story. So what I'm hearing you say is not only sharing it, but putting it through a more medium. I've never done a video on it. I've written it down, but I've never done a video on my story and why I think it's powerful to share, and why I enjoy coaching and sharing so much with others for that reason. This is the first, this is it.
So there's some videos to go to the top of your list, right? Because people buy why you do what you do. They don't buy what you do.
Right. Yeah. That's
right. They connect with you, and they connect with that why. And when they hear what you've just shared with us here about the reason that this whole thing exists, all of a sudden you've now got a connection. And I'm like, oh, Karen understands. Karen gets it. She's been where I am, and she knows what it's like to walk this path. So Karen is the person ideally suited to help me. And now it's a case of how. Now I'm concerned with the how. So I can join a community, I can listen to a podcast, I can buy a program. The how comes after you've made that initial why connection.
So true. So how many of us in business, and this is all touched on a little bit in E-Myth Revisited, how many of us in business just want to explode it there on how much we know, the technical part of it, when it really, the more interesting and intriguing and attracting part is the why. Here's why I do this. And here's where, it can lead to helping you, because as you say, you've got to find that right tribe. That makes sense.
If you think about that, how is easy. We can all Google how. How is easy. Google how, you'll have infinite results.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right about that. It is easy.
Yeah. So the key in all of this is what we talked about, that uniqueness that only you can bring. And that's what's magnetic to your audience, to potential clients. It's that connection to you. So the more that you can do the work to be better at expressing you, and the more that you intentionally put that work out there that expresses your unique voice, man, that's the magic ingredient, not some AI prompt or anything like that. Even though they're the rocket fuel that accelerate you, remember, they're not the replacement. That's the emphasis here.
Exactly.
When you put those things together, wow, magic.
Oh my goodness, we could go on and on, couldn't we? We could sit here, we could talk all night. So
we could.
Yeah, I can see potential to have you back on the show in future. Once I get all this together and flowing in the right direction, I'm sure there'll be more and more levels. And in the meantime, how can people reach out and learn more about what we've talked about today, specifically from you? How can they find you?
So the best thing to do would be to go to colinscotland.com/connect. And there you're going to see my YouTube channel, my podcast, my resources, loads. I've got loads of a library of free resources that you can look at, consume, and just get yourself like teetering on the ice, get yourself into that headspace of this prolific creator that you are inside, and you can leverage all of that free stuff there.
Excellent. I notice on there you have lots of lists and checklists. I think that's a whole other show, because I put checklists in my head. And I know there's a powerful solution to not keep them in your head and still make them accessible. I tend to make them and they're sticking all over the place. And even if I have software and digital stuff, I lose them. I can't find them. So I know we can do a whole show on that. But in the meantime, Colin Scotland.com/connect.
Perfect.
To learn more. Tons of things in there. Thank you so much, Colin. It's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed this and learned a ton. And I hope that the audience listening to this has also learned a ton. And I look forward to talking to you soon.
Me too. Again. Thank you so much, Karen.
Thanks for joining in.